Assalamu alaikum students and welcome to another lecture of Slate. This is me Khawaja Yasin. Let's study chemistry. Moles. Definitely a topic that all the students dread about. Darte, bhagte, moles aa gaye. And moles meaning mainly stoichiometry or sometimes known as stoichiometry. So stoichiometric calculations is something that all of you have done in your O-levels. Basic concepts, basic formulas. Hopefully, if you have had good grip over moles in your O-levels, that's perfect. But if you don't, you need to retouch those concepts because in A-levels, obviously it's the advanced level. Yeah, we still have the same formulas. We will just look into these calculations and worksheet and we will see how it's still the same formulas, but the question's difficulty increases. Obviously, it's A-levels. If you have confusion in your O-levels concept, you can visit you can open our O-level playlist regarding moles and stoichiometry. I hope that would help you. Because we have discussed all the formulas, all the concepts of moles and stoichiometry. In A-levels, we would not just talk about those formulas. Formula of mass over MR, empirical formula calculations, percentage purity, percentage yield. You know about all of them. Again, if you don't go to the O-level lectures, that will help you out. Limiting and excess reagent. But while solving these questions, we would retouch upon all the concepts that we know about. In this class, we are going to calculate it together so that we all understand the concepts, how the questions become longer, because in A-levels chemistry, moles, the major issue is with the length of the questions. The questions become longer, which makes a little confusing for you that how to understand. So it's really a test of your English language as well. So let's start off with the very first question. When an excess of chlorine was reacted with 0.72 gram of titanium, we have the mass here. 2.85 gram of chloride A was formed. Like chloride A, we have any particular chloride compound. It can be anything. Calculate the amount in moles of titanium used. So we see that titanium is given in grams. And when you see a calculation in grams, there is only one formula of moles, which is moles equals to mass over MR or AR. It can be up to you. So now we have mass in grams, which is 0.72, and the AR of titanium is 479. If we calculate the value will be around 15.03 into 10 raised to power minus 3 MOL. The unit is very important. Don't forget that. Now, if we further move along, calculate the amount in moles of chlorine atoms that reacted. So, 2.85 gram of chloride A was formed. That is something we know about here. That 2.85 gram of chloride was formed. So apparently this is a question of stoichiometry and basic composition, because this is not chlorine. This is not chlorine. So what's happening? Titanium reacted with chlorine and formed a chloride A, AClX, whatever the formula is, we will just talk about that in a while. So whatever the formula is that of chloride, the mass, look at the mass, bachu. Ye mass is of the chloride. So when 0.72 gram of titanium was reacted with chlorine, 2.85 gram of chloride was formed. So we can easily know about chlorine atoms. They're asking about chlorine atoms. Normally chlorine is a molecule. So in this whole compound, we know one thing, that we have 0.72 grams of titanium and rest is chlorine. So we would just subtract, basic subtraction, 2.85 minus 0.72. It's a simple calculation. 2.13 gram. Now we have to calculate, how to calculate the moles of chlorine. So N equals to, again, mass over mR. They are not talking about chlorine molecule. They are not talking about Cl2. They are just talking about chlorine atom. So what shall be the mass? 2.13 divided by 35.5. And the answer would be 6.0 into 10 raised to 3 mole. 60, I mean. Now, hence, determine the empirical formula of A. We know that A के अंदर we have this amount of moles. So what do we do when we calculate the empirical formula? It's a simple calculation. We know we have titanium. We know we have Cl. It could have been 6, 10 power 2 and 1.5 again 10 power 2. That's also a better calculation. So we know the ratio between titanium and chloride. What do? We have the mass of both, 2.13 divided by the mR, 1.5 divided by the mR. 0.72 divided by the mR. So बात तो वही हो रही है. We have calculated the moles. That is something we've already done. So what do? For titanium we have 0.015 and for chlorine we have 0.06 moles. We take the smallest value, which is this. This becomes 1:4 and the answer will be TiCl4. So that is the empirical formula of titanium chloride. Construct a balanced equation for the reaction between titanium and chlorine. Now we know it's an easy one. Titanium plus chlorine. Chlorine is Cl2. And this would give me TiCl4. Hence, we have 2 moles of chlorine here. So that is a basic question of stoichiometry. Not very tough. Just little questions, little information. Only a 4-mark question. But later on, we'll do, in this worksheet, we'll move on to the questions where we are going to talk about some longer questions, more concepts. Because when the question is longer, we need more information. So let's talk about this question, students. In this question, we have ammonium sulfate, which is NH4 whole twice sulfate, is widely used as a fertilizer. Now this is what they do in the question of stoichiometry. Extensive stories. In order to determine the percentage purity, we'll just discuss about it. A sample of ammonium sulfate fertilizer was analyzed by reacting a known amount with an excess of NaOH. खुद बता दिए. They've told you themselves. But now we have to calculate. We'll look into those questions later. And then titrating the unreacted with NaOH. So excess, if we have an excess of something, a bit amount would react, and the rest would be unused excess or unreacted. So whatever is left, we react that with HCl. So that is something you have to break down in the questions. Ammonium sulfates react with sodium hydroxide in a 1:2 ratio. We know that very well. Complete and balance the equation. It's a very basic equation. So what is happening here? ammonium salt with alkali is ammonia plus salt. And the salt would be sodium sulfate plus water. We need to balance the equation. So remember one thing, jitne ammonium, utna ammonia, 2. We have 2 sodiums, 1 sulfate, and 2 waters. Complete and balance, easy equation, 2 marks scored for you. A 5 gram sample of fertilizer containing ammonium sulfate was warmed with 50 centimeter cube and excess of NaOH. Now NaOH का मैं सब कुछ बता दिया. Volume is there, concentration is there. When all the ammonia had been driven off, सारी ammonia निकल गई, the solution was cooled. The remaining NaOH, the unreacted NaOH, unused, unreacted excess, was then titrated with 1 mole per dm cube HCl and HCl का volume भी given. Now what is a balanced equation between NaOH and HCl? Since that's a very basic equation. NaOH plus HCl will give NaCl plus H2O. And if they would have asked you about an ionic equation, तो वो क्या होती? H plus OH minus making H2O. Same concept from O level. Calculate the amount in moles of HCl, 31.2 centimeter cube and 1 mole per dm cube. Basic calculation. N equals to C into V divided by 1000. So C is 1.00. This is 31.2 divided by 1000. So the answer is 0.0312 moles. Calculate an amount of moles of NaOH and this volume and concentration. Again, a basic calculation. N equals to C into V. This is 2. This is 50 divided by 1000 again. So 2.00 into 0.05. That would give me 0.1 mole. Let me calculate for my ease. If we, yes, just wanted to confirm, I'm sorry here. Now, use your answer in 1, 2 and 3, 1 for molar ratio. To calculate in moles of NaOH used up in this reaction. Used up ka matlab the one that reacted. Now that is the calculation we want to understand. Firstly, we know we have calculated the moles of NaOH here. These are the moles of HCl. So here these two reacted. This was the unreacted excess. So we can calculate the moles of unreacted. How? Because we calculated the moles of HCl. Since we know it's 1:1, moles of HCl equals to moles of NaOH unreacted. We know that. So that would be 0.0312 moles. Now calculate amount in moles of NaOH used up. Now ये जो आपके NaOH की value given है 50 centimeter cube of 2. This is the total value, the excess value. So हमारे पास ये जो 1 moles है, 1 mole NaOH is total. So total में क्या होता है? Excess plus unreacted excess plus used. So calculate the amount of NaOH that was used. So 0.0312. Obviously we are going to subtract it. 0.1 minus 0.0312 and the answer would be 0.0688 MOL, mole. Use your answer to 4 and equation A. This is equation A. First one. To calculate the amount in moles of ammonium phosphate reacted. Like इससे हमें पता लगता है, use your answer in 4. ये 4 का आंसर है कि हमें कैलकुलेट करने NH4 which reacted with this total के साथ. So how do we calculate the value? We see molar ratio, ammonium sulfate ratio NaOH. Look at the equation 1:2. We have the moles here 0.0688 and that would be half of it. So 0.0344 MOL. Use your answer in 5 to calculate the mass of ammonium sulfate that reacted with NaOH. We have the moles. Now mass जब भी calculate करना, how do we do that? Look at this. Mass is given. But calculate the mass that reacted with NaOH. So these are the moles. N equals to mass over MR. We need to find the amount of ammonium sulfate. Moles हमारे पास है 0.0344 into MR. MR calculate करते हैं, it's very quick. It's 14 plus 4 into 2 plus 32 plus 64. This is 96 plus 88 into 36. That makes it somewhat 132. So 132 से इसको multiply करेंगे. As per mass over MR से, the answer would be 4.54 gram. Calculate the percentage purity of ammonium sulfate fertilizer. Simple. आपको शुरू में 5 ग्राम सैंपल दिए फर्टिलाइजर का जिसमें थोड़ा सा ये मौजूद है, थोड़ा सा ज्यादा वी डोंट नो, बट कितना मौजूद है? This is the amount. This is the amount in 5 gram sample. So we would just use the simple formula. Percentage purity equals to mass of pure over mass of impure into 100. So mass of pure हमारे पास है 4.54, this one, and impure था 5.00 into 100. So 4.54 divided by 5 would be 0.9. So multiplied by 100 is 90.9% is the answer. So this is another question of moles where we see how we need to understand what is happening, because that is a common type of questions for A-level moles. कि बार बार वो एक चीज के एक्सेस में से अगला यूज करेगा, फिर अगला यूज करेगा. So we need to understand the question.